Hey guys, and welcome back. This is Dwayne, and this is Into the Woods. Into the Woods. Tonight I am by myself. As you know, I'm normally here with my sisters, Denise and Danita, but they are off doing some things right now. But they're going to be back, and we're just so happy that you are here with me, with me tonight. And it's Friday. We're taping this on Friday evening, and so glad that you are here. Hopefully, you had a great week, and we're almost to the end of the month of October, and getting ready to move into the month of November. And then, man, the end of the year, right? End of the year is here because the holidays are here. We're going to have Thanksgiving coming up soon, then Christmas, then New Year's, and we are into 2023. And what a year it's been. I mean, this has been, for me personally, this has been an amazing year in terms of our practice. And if you see, you know that I'm an endocrinologist, and we have been picking up, our office has been picking up, coming back. People are coming out now. COVID is, I don't want to say COVID is gone, but COVID is a part of where we are, right? COVID is a part of our lives now. And so people are really getting out and doing some of the things that they were doing pre-COVID. And so our practice is growing. And if you saw, I'm doing some things online in the social media space, some coaching and so forth. So anyway, so all of that's going well. And for Denise and Danita, they've got, if you listen to our last show, they've got some things going on in their lives as well in terms of their growth and becoming creators. We are all making that push to make the community a better place and to make some of the skills that we have available to everybody. So anyway, so that's that's what we've been doing. We're just so excited. We've been traveling recently. We had this past week we just came back from Toronto. We took a bunch of kids there. We in our church have it's kind of a quiz show. It's called Bible Bowl, like quiz bowl, math bowl, reading bowl, whatever, science bowl, whatever you kind of call it. It's a quiz show and kind of a Jeopardy type show. And so we were in the nationals. So all the teams from around the country and Canada were playing. And so we made it to nationals. We took 4 teams. 2 of our teams came in second place. 2 of our teams were eliminated towards the end of the competition. And then 2 of the teams came in second. So we're sort of excited for that. Some of our kids, has been a lifetime trip for them, right? So this is something that they hopefully will remember. And when they tell stories later on in their lives, they'll tell this as one of those stories. And so I was excited to be a part of that. And the week before that, believe it or not, we went camping. We went camping once again with our church. We have something that's called Pathfinders. It's kind of like Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts. And so our churches are divided into unions. And so we're part of the Southern Union. And so we didn't take, but altogether there were about 5,000 people camping. And when I say camping, this is like for real camping, right? So this is tents and cooking outside and sleeping outside. And we really had a good time. Every 5 years, we have what's called the International Camporee. And it used to be in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And that was, the last one was 2019, I believe. But anyway, so that's coming up in 2024. They've moved it because there were so many people that came to the last one. I think the final number was 60,000 people. Yes, that's right. 60,000 people on the campgrounds. That included, it included everyone, right? So adults and kids, but these were people that were actually camping in tents. So we took a bunch of kids with us to Oshkosh, Wisconsin at that time. And my son and I stayed in a tent together. We had to move our tent 3 times. That's right. Because when we set up, when everyone came in, it rained. And so the trucks kind of rode through our camping area. And so if you know anything about that, they leave these the wheels make these tracks. And when we were putting our tents down, it was near one of those tracks. So when it rained, the water collected in that kind of like a little gutter. And of course, the tent is right there, and it came in, and so we moved. Anyway, but we had a wonderful experience. We had a great time out there, and so we're looking forward to that now in 2024. And they're estimating that the numbers are even going to be bigger, right? So 60,000 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and even bigger in Gillette. So anyway, so that's what we've been doing the last several weeks in terms of our family. And so we are in place. we're in place now. We've got some things coming up later on, maybe the end of the year. But for now, for the next month and a half, couple of months, we're gonna be here. Hopefully you are you've had some fun times as well, and are planning to the end of the year. So that's a good place for us to jump into what I want to talk about today on this show. And it is really how we end the year, right? How we end the year. And, a lot of people sit down, it's the last quarter of the year. And really, people say that the last quarter of the year should have been planned, the beginning of this year. But at any rate, so we're in that final stretch now. And there are things that everyone has thought about, or a lot of people have thought about. They've had New Year's resolutions. They've had plans. They've had some things they've tried to put in place for the year. And the question is, how are we going to end the year? How are we going to end the year? And when I say end the year, I don't want this to be a kind of beating yourself over the head kind of ending the year, because there's so many things. And I don't have, let's see, do I have that? Let's see. Oh, is it? No. I was looking for my vision board. You guys know I usually have my vision board there. It's down because I'm preparing. We're going to be doing a show on vision boards, so pay attention, keep an ear out for that. But anyway, there are things on my vision board that I haven't achieved this year. Okay, but my vision board was set as the things that I'm going to put my energy into that I want to achieve this year. And there were some big things on my vision board. For instance, I wanted to do a TED Talk this year. I did not do that, right? I still got time, right? So I haven't given up that, hey, that's still a possibility, but I have not done it yet this year. So, but that was on my vision board as one of the things that I wanted to do. On my vision board was becoming a voice in the social media, mainstream media that talked about health, that talked about wellness, that talked about mindset. And that one I have achieved, right? So if you are in social media, if you're online, you probably see shorts from me that are coming out. You probably see on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all those things. Now, that doesn't mean that I've arrived, right? That's not what it means, right? But it means that I am in the space where I want to be. That was one of my goals for this year. And I have achieved that goal in getting that started. Now, for next year, right, that goal gets pushed higher, right? So we want to do more things in that space. We want to be more visible. We want to be more influential. We want to be able to get our message out to more people, right? So now we're talking about the growth, but on the vision board, that was the thing. Now, there is a big one that I want to talk about. And those are all big things, right? Those are all good things. Those are things that I want to do to improve myself, to give, share my gift with the community, to enhance the community, to really live within my purpose, right? there's something else that I want to do, and that was to enrich my spiritual life. All right. And that's what tonight I want to talk about, enriching my spiritual life. And, it is so easy. It is so easy for us to allow life to direct us in ways that we did not intend. If we're not careful, we allow, and it's a gradual creep, right? So it's not like one day we wake up and then all of a sudden, instead of going right, we're going left. What happens is that something goes on in our life, or some event happens, or some, can be silenced my phone. Something happens, and we begin, so we're heading in this direction, and, something happens, and it pulls us just ever so slightly to take care of that. And rightly so, it is something that happens. Someone gets sick. Something happens with our jobs. Something happens personally with us. We have some realization or some epiphany, right? Or we take a class. For instance, this year I took a class. I just completed my coaching my coaching program, right? And so that was a process that I was going through, and there were some things people were asking me to do that I couldn't do. So I had to not do those things so that I can concentrate on taking this course. I am also doing my live show. And so there are things I can't do on that night. I'm doing things in the social media. I have a day job and there are things that I've got to do for my day job. I've got a family, right? My son, he's in basketball. These trips that we were talking about, right? Going camping, going to Toronto, to Canada for the Bible Bowl. So life happens. And if we're not careful, all those things, as good as they are, begin pulling us away from some other things that we say are very important to us. And so I'm going to, let me be honest with you, right? So this year, our church has had a massive push to connect and to renew our commitment and to enrich our relationship with our Creator. And we've been pushing that. And the busyness has taken some of my time. And the busyness for this year has not allowed me to do the things that I want to do in terms of that relationship. And so as I'm getting to the end of the year, right, I'm looking back and saying, okay, there are some things that I've got to do. Because the relationship that I have with the Creator, the relationship that I have with God, affects everything else, right? We did on one of the shows that I did on my other channel, and when I do my coaching, my initial assessments with people, one of the things we do is this thing called the Wheel of Life, or the Wheel of Perspective. You can hear it, may hear it called a lot of different things. But in that Wheel of Perspective, what we go through is we talk about so many different areas in our lives, and we rate them. How do you think, from a scale of 1 to 10, how are you doing with your relationship with your family, with your friends? How are you doing on your job? How are you doing in your creative space? How are you doing it with your time management? And so you can go through and you can list a bunch of different things, and people often will make changes to that and add more stuff, because you can become very granular with it, right? You can break those things down, in relationship with family. How am I in relationship with my parents and my brothers and my sisters and my child and my wife and so forth, right? So when you're going through, and when I do that assessment for myself, if I'm honest, there are things in that list that I've got to work on. And if we're not careful, we kind of let that, slide. And the end of the year comes, and the year starts, and we get back on that same track. Okay. So living intentionally, specifically as it relates to the relationship that we have with God, with our Creator. Because everything in that assessment that we do, everything in that wheel of perspective, all those things are affected by this relationship. And we find that there are correlations, right? So if this relationship is not where it needs to be, then people tend to be lopsided, if you will, or unbalanced in lots of other areas. Because they're looking for fulfillment in places that aren't built to give that fulfillment. I heard someone say that we all have a God-sized compartment or hole in our bodies. So I'd like to share a couple of tips for enhancing that relationship. Now the first thing is to say that there are no singular things, right? So there's not like a single blueprint for this relationship, for building this relationship. But there are some principles that we want to talk about. And the first one is to decide that this is a relationship that you want. I know that sounds silly, but you would be surprised that sometimes we have kind of this wishful thing in our heads. Oh, it would be nice to, at some point this is going to happen. But we've got to decide that this is a relationship that we are interested in building. And it's like any other relationship that we have, the force of our determination, right, is huge. Now, if you read the Bible, you will discover that one of the most important things in this decision is to really ask for the power and the willingness and the desire to work on the relationship. That's right. So we're told, right, that it is God who gives us the will and the desire for the relationship. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we are asking, say, hey, look, I've got all this stuff going on in my life. This is something I want. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I just need power and I need desire and I need help. As simple as that. And be willing to accept what comes, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is you got to have a plan. A dream is a wish without a plan. So there's this thing that we've conjectured in our minds. We have this idea of what we want, but if we don't plan, then it all is becoming, it's a wish. If it doesn't have some structure to it. And what does that mean? That means that we've got to be able to sit down and say, okay, how am I going to go about doing this? Do I need to go to bed earlier so I can wake up early in the morning? Am I a morning person? Do I need to do this at night? Right? What am I going to do? Am I going to do a devotion? Am I going to read the Bible? And I'll come to some of that here in a minute. All right. So what is my plan? Because if you don't have a plan, it won't happen. The third thing is there are so many devotionals. There are so many books. There are so many things out there. You know what I recommend? Get a Bible. And I would recommend, and all of you who are out there, don't jump on me for this, right? So get something like the New International Version. Get something like the Amplified Version. Get something like the Modern Version, right? Not Modern Version. Did I say New International already? Yeah, I said New International, right? And use that to begin reading. Because as you read the Bible, you will begin getting the thoughts. You will begin, and let's back up for a second and say, when you're doing this, don't try to do this in the middle of watching TV, right? Or in the middle of your rush hour or your wherever, right? You've got to find a space to have some quiet time where you can do this. Now, there's nothing wrong with putting the Bible on while you're driving your car, putting the Bible on while you're washing the dishes, putting the Bible on to listen, right? So that all of that helps. But if we're talking about developing a relationship, listening and hearing to what God is saying to us, then we need some quiet time. And it doesn't have to be long. And as you're reading, don't try to read, the whole book at one time, right? Pick a couple of texts, pick a text, pick a word, and begin reading. Now, as you're doing that, there are some tools that you can use, right? So you can use, there are topical studies that you can do. So you can buy a book, it has lessons in it, and it says, okay, we're going to go through the Bible and we're going to study all the instances of love. We're going to study all of the concepts of love. We're going to study all of the concepts of redemption, right? So topically you can do that. There are devotionals that help to lead you through the Bible. For instance, there's the Bible in a year. When I was a kid, we had these cards and you would have to read a certain amount of text per day in order to get through the Bible for the year, right? So those things begin helping you to put the Bible into your memory, into your mind. You begin putting it together, right? So those are ways of getting through the Bible, becoming familiar with it. And now we're gonna go back and we're gonna say, okay, now that for instance, let's assume that we've read through the Bible for the year. Let's assume that's what we do. In order for us now to begin holding on to and digging deeper on some of those things, right? We can't read at that pace. We can't go through it at that pace. We got to come back and we got to pause and say, okay, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to study. I'm going to learn what was God's purpose for man. I'm going to get the concept of redemption. I'm going to get the concept of love. I'm going to get the concept of this birth. This, we do the Christmas story, right? This miracle of the birth of Jesus Christ. Okay, so we're asking for the desire. We have a plan for what we're going to do. We've now taken the steps to read the Word, read the Bible, right? Now, you can use those other books to help you go through that. But remember, that's where I want you to be. I want you to be in the Bible, right? I don't want you to hear what somebody else says about what the Bible says. I want you to know what the Bible says. And then you are praying as you're doing this. That's the final step. Praying as you're doing this, constantly in a position, in a posture of prayer. Lord, please reveal to me, what is it in this that you want me to get? What should I be hearing from you? And the whole point of what we're doing is to develop the relationship. And why do we develop the relationship? Because the relationship is what changes us. So as we get to the end of the year, this is a big one, because this relationship that we begin to develop, this relationship touches everything that we do. So I'm glad that you're here. I am excited. I just wanted to share those words with you. We're going to come back, and Denise and Danita are going to join me as we move into our shows in the next coming weeks. And this is Dwayne at Into the Woods, right? Denise and Danita are usually with me. Remember, there are 6 of us, right? There are 6 of us. You haven't met the other 3 yet, but there are 6 of us. They will hopefully come on at some point. You guys get to meet them and hear some of their thoughts. And the whole idea behind Into the Woods is that we are sharing our thoughts, sharing some of our ideas in our lives with you. Because sometimes we're in the woods, we're in the bushes, there's so many things going on. And as we learn together, we can all come out of the woods together. That's what we want. So if you've not done so, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell so that you will be notified when we put new content. Go back and look at some of the other videos that we've done. Give us a thumbs up for this one, share it with somebody. let them know what we're doing as we begin, as we continue to build this community, and so that we can share together and move forward together. So glad that you're here. This is Dwayne for Into the Woods. We'll see you at the next video.